The changing of the evolution, which is the gradually transformation and its management for the requirement procedures, which is happening in different districts and its critical challenges, which is the influential in the procedures. How to dynamic institutionalization and its gradually responsibility, which is the consolidated structural the procedures and its efficiency and its gracefully responsibility for their hidden transformation, which is the requirement and its phenomena of the structural for their resource efficiency, which is the different streams and its influential part of the approach. How to the regulatory and its growing for their influential association for the navigation for their socialization, the growing and its influential association for the different institutional association and its gradually responsibility, which is the hidden of their transformation, the absolute way of the majority and thinking about the gradually and its responsibility for the different role and its regulatory for their efficiency and dynamic institutionalization, the growing and its influential part of the approach. How to different navigation and socialization, which is the influential and its structural for the regulatory and its advantage, the resources about different fundamental nature and its co-relations and its balance for their convenience and its structural for their resource efficiency, the different role and its regulatory for their transition of the society, which is the inclusivity and challenges for their referendums and its insecurity about their procedure and its influential association, the different navigation of the social and its evolutionary, which is the gradually responsibility hidden of their transformations and its institutionalization for their regulatory and its influential part of the approach, different role and its regulatory for their challenges, the navigation of the society and its intrusive for their advantage and its resources about different fundamental and its nature for their coexistence of the supplementary for their ideologically when the transformations and its requirement for their different phenomena, the scope of the critical challenges, political aspects, and the working of the social issue, which is functioning and its hospitality changing, the gradually responsibility and its ideologically, which is the fundamental and its conservative ideologically, which is the supplementary for their social and its inclusivity for their regulatory advantage, the growing and its influential association and its navigation for their challenges, which is the occupancy of their transformation, the growth and its orientation for their neutralization and its scope efficiency, the growth and its neutralization for their effective for their challenges and its influential part of the approach. How to regulatory and its influential association, the navigation of the society and its inclusivity for their regulatory and challenges for their different effective and institutionalization. It is the functional and its association for the navigation and challenges for their gradually responsibility, which is the hidden of their transformations for their ideologically, and its a dynamic institutional association and its structural for their regulatory and its advantage. How to different evolutionary and challenges for their different effective part of the approach and its growth and its orientation for their social and its evolutionary for their different effective for their transition of the society, the navigation and its socialization, which is the gracefully and its responsibility, which is the inclusivity for their challenges. How to different navigation and its advantage for their growth and its orientation for their socialization and its influential association for their navigation and its social and its emerging for their convenience of the society, which is the advantage and its growth and its reluctance for their different distinguish and its fragmentation, which is happening in different crucial advantage and it's working for their facility, which is provided through different stakeholders like the government, like the different public sector, like the different NGO, which is happening in the procedures and its influential association, the navigation, which is the negligibles for their inclusivity and its challenges for their hope efficiency, which is finding and its prosperity for their regulatory advantage and its resources about their gracefully responsibility, which is the transformation for their ideologically and its a dynamic institutional association for their different navigation of the social and its inclusivity for the regulatory advantage and its resource efficiency. It is the challenges and its scope for their balance of the working capacity for their neutralization, the growing and its influential part of the approach which is happening in the social and its prosperity for the different structural and its execution of working capacity, which is the procedures and its involvement in the different regulatory and its advantage for their cooperative socialization, execution of work, different sociological argument in thinking about the defining and its associated association for the navigation which is the intrusive for their advantage, the regulatory and its convenience for their socialization and its efficiency, and dynamic institutional association which is the conservation of the society and its advantage for their regulatory and its influential association. It is the navigation and systematic and its partially differentiation which is the inclusivity for their challenges. How to the fundamental nature of the convenience and its part of the approach which is the convenience and its involvement in different participation and its working capacity, the neutralization and its procedures about the working and its social and its evolutionary for their different role and its regulatory advantage for their resource efficiency, how to different procedures and its involvement in different categorizations which is the partially and its approach efficiency which is the dynamic institutional association, procedures work capacity of the desirable and its acceptance and its participation, the working cultural and its association for the different navigation of the social and its evolutionary for their challenges, the capacity and it's all about their phenomena of the structural and its happening of the procedures which is the efficiency and dynamic institutionalization, how to different capacity and its requirement, the phenomena of the structural which is the reluctance for their ideologically and its a different ability for the functional and its association indifferent regardless of the prosperity and its structural for their resource efficiency, the different resources and it's gradually happening in the social and its evolutionary for their working capacity for their neutral efficiency, the dynamic and its institutionalization and its a different segment of the social and its emancipation of the conservative society which is happening of the involvement and its participation for their working and its capacity for their neutralization and its scope efficiency which is the different neutralization and its working for their capacity and its requirement for the happening and its institutional association and its structural for their regulatory advantage. It is the advantage for their resources about how to different institutionalization which is the working for the different involvement and its segment for the conservative of these challenges, its involvement in the different political scenario, working culture, infrastructure, technology, cooperation, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and a different way of the scope, which is the finding and its a way for the resilient structural, the procedures about the functional and its gracefully procedures, which is the capacity, but the neutralization and its scope about happening in different scenario, the capacity of the requirement and its procedures about their capacity and its neutralization, the happening of the gracefully responsibility and its ideologically which is the functional and its association for the ideologically and its conservation for their social and its involvement for their participation in despite for the inertia, the segment of the society in different policy and its execution, like the working of the financial inclusions in different sectors like the Jan Dhan Yojana and its initiative for the different employment opportunity like the Pradhan Mantri Kausal Vikas Yojana. I just elaborate myself. So, what is I will express in my mind and just try to involvement in different words which is expressing without any thinking and without any argument. It's just try to deliver which is which is I just experience about how to express the words and its integration and its addition, which is isolated in different category of the words, which is the working for the different capacity and its requirement. I just try to express express my view when I suggest, no, when I deliver any kinds of topic in the different forms of the execution, which is the procedures and it's happening for their involvement and it's a participation of the working capacity for their neutralization, just keeping in mind and it's functional, which having for the different rational and its resilient dynamic for procedures. But the concept about how do perceptions and all about their happening and thinking about their gracefully transformation for the different compartmentalizations and it's a structural for their association and it's a gracefully transition, the procedures about their working and its a constitutionalization for the happening and its a social and its involvement for the different transition of the transformations, which is the gracefully and transition of the socialization, the effective part of the approach and different involvations of the insecurity about the procedures and it's happening about different role in its regulatory for their transition of the society, its involvement and its participation for their working and its capacity for their neutralization and its scope about different fundamental and its nature for their conservative mindset, how to regulatory and its involvement, which is the participation of working and its constitutionalization fragmentation procedures and its involvement for their different regulatory and its transaction for their defining and its association. It is the transaction and its defining for their association, which is the comprehensive socialization, which is the happening and its involvement in the different dynamic and its procedure about different working cultural and its association for their navigation and its systematic way and its cultural involvement and its participation. We are just involvement in the critical aspects and it's the involvement which is happening, in fact just try to associate in the words, just try to associate and it's fulfill for the empathy about how to sustainable approaches about their working and it's finding for their defining and it's involvement for their transaction, the growth in its involvement for their transaction, which is happening in the social and its procedures about their working culture for their socialization, which is the happening in all about their procedures and its gracefully transaction of the socialization. It is the challenges and its capacity for their neutralization and it's all about the regulatory and transaction of the society, which is the core and its efficiency for their regulatory advantage and its balance for their supplementary and challenges for their capacity, which is the intrusive for their advantage and its resource efficiency. It is the challenges for their capacity and its regulatory for their advantage, how to different navigation and its involvement for their challenges and its capacity for their neutralization, the procedures about different way and its scope about the regulatory and its advantage for their challenges, the capacity and its balance for their requirement and its phenomena of the structural and its resource efficiency. Efficiency comes from when you have deeper in the work, deeper in the minds and the dominant about your work cultures and it's happening of different deeper thinking about the structural of working and its procedures about the proper way of the neutralization and its management about the working and its procedure for their different association, how to different way and its balance. I just associate the word and its influential for their transaction, which is happening in the different association and its navigation for their social and its emancipation of the society, the comprehensive advantage regulatory and its challenges for their efficiency and its procedures about the working and its constitutionalization for the happening, the involvement and its participation for the working cultural association and its transaction, which is the procedures which have the involvement and its gradually responsibility. अब तो लग रहा है यार आँख भी निकल जाएगा, इतना आँख में दर्द होने लगता है बोलने पे। सबका मुंह में दर्द होता है, मेरा आँख में दर्द होता है। देख रहे हो कितना बार ब्लिंक कर रहा है, ऐसे ऐसे। ऐसा लग रहा है कि निकल जाएगा, लेकिन निकलने नहीं देंगे, जस्ट बोल रहे हैं दोस्तों। ओके।